The world was painted in hues of lavender and deep indigo when Elara first felt the change. Not a tremor in the earth, nor a sudden gust of wind, but a shift in the air itself, as subtle as the unfolding of a slumbering flower petal. Oakhaven, her village, lay nestled in the crook of a valley, its homes built from the pale, sturdy timber of the valley oaks, their roofs thatched with sun-dried river reeds. Above them, like a silent, watchful guardian, rose the ancient whisperwood. For as long as Elara could remember, the whisperwood had lived up to its name. Even on the stillest days, a faint murmur seemed to drift from its depths, a rustling of leaves that no breeze disturbed, a sigh that carried no sorrow, a hum that was not quite a song. Most villagers paid it no mind, dismissing it as the creaking of ancient boughs or the settling of forest spirits. But Elara, with her quiet eyes and ears that heard beyond the ordinary, knew it was more. She called it simply the whispering. Tonight, however, the whispering was different. It wasn't merely a background hum. It was a presence, a soft, insistent tug at the edges of her awareness. As the last sliver of the sun dipped below the jagged peaks of the Dragon's Teeth Mountains, casting the valley into a velvet twilight, Elara sat on the porch swing, watching the first star bloom in the sky. The air, usually crisp, now carried a faint, sweet scent like moonlight on dew-kissed moss. The whispering swelled, a chorus of barely audible sounds, each note a tiny, invisible chime. It felt like a story trying to be told, a secret yearning to be shared. Her mother, Lyra, called her in for supper, her voice warm like toasted hearthbread. "Elara, little stargazer, the stew's getting cold." Elara reluctantly pulled herself away from the growing symphony of the wood. Inside, the cottage was a haven of warmth and familiar scents, simmering herbs, a faint wisp of wood smoke, and the comforting aroma of her mother's special mushroom and root stew. Her father, Theron, a man of quiet strength and calloused hands from his days working the village mill, was already at the table, his usually serious face softened by the glow of the fire. Grandmother Willow, her face a roadmap of gentle wisdom, sat knitting by the hearth, her silver hair catching the flickering light. "Did you hear it tonight, Grandmother?" Elara asked softly, spooning a generous helping of stew onto her plate. Grandmother Willow's needles paused, a half-formed scarf dangling from her hands. Her eyes, the color of twilight pools, met Elara's. "The wind in the pines, dear one? Or perhaps the river spirits singing their lullabies?" Elara shook her head. "No, not the wind, not the river. It's the whispering. It's louder tonight, like it's trying to tell us something important." Her father chuckled, a low rumble. "The forest has always whispered, Elara. It's old, and old things have many tales to tell, even if they only tell them to themselves." "But this is different, Father," Elara insisted, a frown creasing her brow. "It feels urgent." Her mother placed a hand on Elara's arm. "Maybe the forest is just excited for the first full moon of the bloom cycle, sweet one. It always brings out the strangest hums and shimmers." The bloom cycle was a time of magic and renewal in Oakhaven. Once a year, under the brightest full moon, rare lumina blossoms would unfurl deep within the whisperwood, their petals glowing with a soft, ethereal light. It was said that their light held ancient magic, and their scent could mend broken hearts and even forgotten memories. The villagers would gather for a quiet festival, exchanging stories and small, handcrafted gifts, but few ventured deep into the wood during this time, respecting its ancient mysteries. Grandmother Willow, however, watched Elara with a knowing glint in her eyes. "Some ears are simply more attuned than others, my little moon petal," she said, her voice a soft murmur that somehow carried more weight than her father's hearty dismissal. "The world speaks in many tongues, and the whisperwood especially has secrets it only shares with those who truly listen." After supper, as the fire crackled and danced, Grandmother Willow began one of her cherished tales. Her stories were not just words. They were woven tapestries of Oakhaven's history, of the spirits that dwelled in the ancient trees, of the gentle magic that permeated their valley. Tonight, she spoke of the echoes, forgotten remnants of ancient spells or powerful emotions, lingering in the fabric of the world, sometimes stirred by the right touch, or the right whisper. "Long ago," Grandmother Willow began, her voice a soothing drone, "when the world was young and magic ran like a river through every stone and leaf, there were beings who spoke to the trees, and the trees spoke back. They understood the language of the earth, the sky, and the unseen currents that bind them all. And when these beings departed, they left behind not just their knowledge, but their very essence, scattered like stardust through the land. These are the echoes. Ilara listened intently, her small heart thrumming. She knew, deep down, that her grandmother wasn't just telling a fanciful tale. She was describing the feeling that had always lingered in the Whisperwood, and what she was hearing tonight. The whispering wasn't just sound, it was the world itself, humming with untold stories, with awakened echoes. Later, tucked into her bed under a quilt stitched with constellations, Ilara found the whispering was no longer just outside. It was inside her room too, a soft, vibrating hum that seemed to emanate from the very walls. It wove through the threads of her quilt, danced in the dust motes caught in the moonlight, and seemed to settle in the very air she breathed. It was an intricate, multi-layered sound, like 1,000 tiny bells ringing in perfect, hushed harmony, each bell a different shade of emotion or meaning. She closed her eyes, trying to decipher it, to untangle the threads of its message. It wasn't a language she knew, yet it felt familiar, like a half-remembered dream. There was a sense of urgency, yes, but also a profound beauty, a deep peace, and an almost unbearable longing. It called to her, not with words, but with an irresistible pull, a silent invitation. The window was open just a crack, letting in the cool night air and the intensified chorus of the whispering. The moon, though not yet full, was a fat, silver coin in the sky, casting long, dancing shadows of the Whisperwood's outermost trees onto the village green. Ilara felt a strange compulsion, a gentle but firm insistence that urged her out of bed. It was not a fear, but a profound curiosity mixed with a sense of destiny. Carefully, so as not to wake her sleeping parents in the next room, Ilara slipped out from under her quilt. The wooden floorboards creaked softly under her bare feet, but the sound was swallowed by the omnipresent whispering. She pulled on her thickest woolen cloak, its hood soft against her cheeks, and her sturdy walking boots. Her heart was beating a rhythm against her ribs that matched the mysterious hum in the air. She knew she shouldn't go into the Whisperwood alone, especially at night. Her parents had warned her countless times about straying too deep, about the creatures that stirred after sundown, about getting lost in its ancient winding paths. But this was different. The whispering wasn't a warning. It was a guide. It felt like an old friend, finally revealing a long-held secret. As she reached the door, she paused, her hand on the cold iron latch. A small silver locket, a gift from Grandmother Willow, lay on her bedside table. It was said to hold a sliver of petrified starlight, a tiny beacon of protection. She picked it up, its cool weight a comfort in her palm, and slipped it over her head. The starlight within seemed to pulse faintly, almost in sync with the whispering. Stepping out of the cottage, the night air embraced her. The village was silent, save for the distant hoot of an owl and the growing intensity of the forest's song. The whispering was now a symphony of feeling, guiding her towards the edge of the Whisperwood. It wasn't a sound she could pinpoint, but rather a sensation that permeated the very ground beneath her feet, the air on her skin, and the thoughts in her mind. The path to the Whisperwood was familiar, worn smooth by generations of villagers gathering kindling or foraging for berries. But tonight, it felt transformed. The gnarled roots of the oldest oaks that lined the path seemed to pulse with a faint internal light, like dormant embers. The air grew thicker, sweeter, carrying the scent of unknown night-blooming flowers. As Ilara stepped beneath the canopy of the first ancient tree, she felt as if she were passing through an invisible curtain. The world shifted. The familiar sounds of the village faded, replaced by the full, resonant chorus of the whispering. It was no longer a gentle hum, but a magnificent, silent song that filled her entire being. It vibrated in her bones, sang in her blood, and opened her mind to a dazzling array of sensations. The forest itself seemed alive, with a hidden luminescence. Patches of moss on the tree trunks glowed with a soft, emerald light. Tiny winged insects, no bigger than her thumb, flitted between branches, trailing phosphorescent dust like miniature stars. The leaves overhead, usually a dark, impenetrable mass at night, now shimmered with faint, silvery outlines, as if each one was etched with moonlight. Ilara followed the pull of the whispering, her steps light and sure. It guided her deeper into the wood, along paths she had never taken before, through groves of trees so ancient their trunks were wider than her cottage. The trees here were different. Their bark was smoother, almost iridescent, and their branches reached towards the sky like gnarled, knowing fingers. Some had hollows in their trunks that glowed from within, revealing clusters of tiny bell-shaped flowers that pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic light. The whispering intensified, becoming clearer, more distinct. It wasn't just a general hum anymore. Now, Ilara could distinguish individual threads within the tapestry of sound, a high, reedy note that felt like laughter, a deep, resonant thrum that spoke of sorrow, a vibrant, sparkling melody that sang of joy. It was a language of pure emotion, of raw memory, woven together into a coherent message she was only just beginning to understand. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye. A creature, no larger than her hand, darted from behind a cluster of glowing toadstools. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its body was made of what looked like woven moonlight and dew, shimmering with an internal light. Delicate translucent wings, like those of a dragonfly, beat silently, leaving trails of faint, golden dust in its wake. It had large, luminous eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. It was a Luna sprite, a creature of pure forest magic, rarely seen by human eyes, even those of her grandmother. The Luna sprite hovered before her, its wings beating a rapid rhythm that harmonized with a delicate tinkling note in the whispering. Its luminous eyes gazed at her with an unnerving intensity, as if it were seeing not just Ilara, but the very echoes that resonated within her. The whispering swelled around them, and Ilara felt a sudden profound connection with the sprite. It wasn't just observing her, it was responding to the whispering, perhaps even part of it. The sprite extended a tiny shimmering hand towards her, and in its palm, a single, minuscule lumina blossom unfurled, glowing with an otherworldly light. Ilara reached out a tentative finger, drawn by the flower's irresistible glow. As her fingertip brushed against the blossom's soft, luminous petal, a jolt of pure magic coursed through her. It wasn't painful but exhilarating, like 1,000 tiny stars igniting within her. And with that connection, the whispering coalesced. It was no longer just sound or emotion. It was a vision. A fleeting, kaleidoscopic image flashed through her mind, a towering ancient structure not made of wood or stone but of swirling light and shadow, hidden deep within the heart of the Whisperwood. It pulsed with the same light as the Lumina blossom, and around it, figures moved, not human, but beings of shimmering light, tending to it, guarding it. And then a sense of loss, a profound emptiness, as if something vital had been taken from this place. The vision faded as quickly as it came, leaving Ilara breathless, her fingers still tingling from the touch of the Lumina blossom. The Luna sprite, its task seemingly complete, dipped its head in a gesture that felt like a bow, then vanished into the shimmering foliage. Ilara stood alone in the heart of the enchanted forest, the whispering still all around her, but now infused with a new clarity. She understood. The whispering wasn't just a collection of ancient echoes. It was a plea. A call for help. Tell. The vision had shown her a place, a magical structure, and a deep, ancient sorrow. Something was amiss in the Whisperwood, something that only those attuned to its deepest secrets could perceive. And the whispering had chosen her. With a newfound determination, Ilara looked deeper into the shimmering forest. The path ahead was no longer just a path. It was an invitation, glowing faintly with the light of the Lumina blossom that still pulsed in her mind. The whispering now felt like a compass, pointing her towards the heart of the mystery, towards the ancient structure she had seen in her vision. She took a deep breath, the scent of moonlight and moss filling her lungs, and stepped forward, ready to answer the call of the Whisperwood. She took a deep breath, the scent of moonlight and moss filling her lungs, and stepped forward, ready to answer the call of the Whisperwood. The path beneath her feet was not like the familiar, well-trodden trails of her village. Here, in the heart of the ancient forest, the ground was a tapestry of velvet moss, fallen leaves that shimmered with faint iridescent light, and roots that snaked like sleeping serpents, glowing with an inner phosphorescence. Each step was cushioned, silent, as if the forest itself held its breath to listen to her approach. The whispering, which had been a distant murmur, now grew clearer, a symphony of soft rustles, gentle sighs, and a melody that seemed to resonate not just in her ears, but deep within her bones. It wasn't a language of words but of feelings, a gentle pull, a comforting warmth, a sense of direction that was as clear as any map. The Lumina blossom, still pulsing softly within the landscape of her mind, now cast a faint ethereal glow over her immediate surroundings. It was as if the forest, touched by its magic, had decided to reveal some of its hidden wonders just for her. Trees unlike any she had ever seen rose around her. Their trunks were gnarled and ancient, their bark spiraling upwards like living sculptures, adorned with patches of luminescent fungi that pulsed with a slow, rhythmic beat, like tiny forest hearts. Their leaves, a kaleidoscope of emerald, silver, and deep amethyst, caught the faint moonlight filtering through the dense canopy, shimmering like a million scattered jewels. Some trees bore blossoms that unfurled only at night, their petals like spun moonlight, releasing a perfume that was both sweet and earthy, a scent that promised forgotten stories and ancient magic. Elara found herself drifting deeper into this dreamscape, her initial trepidation replaced by a profound sense of wonder. The air itself felt different here, charged with an energy that tingled on her skin, whispering secrets of time untold. Little motes of light, like scattered stardust, danced in the air, swirling around her before winking out of existence. These, she understood instinctively, were the forest's own breath, tiny fragments of its ancient magic. The path, if it could even be called that, wound through thickets of shimmering ferns that brushed against her legs with a feathery touch. The whispering urged her onward, sometimes a gentle nudge to the left, sometimes a soft hum that encouraged her straight ahead. It felt like walking hand in hand with an invisible guide, a presence as old as the stars themselves. After what felt like an age but could have been mere minutes in the timeless embrace of the whisperwood, Elara noticed a subtle shift. The ground began to slope gently downwards and the air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of fresh water. The whispering intensified, drawing her towards a soft murmuring sound that grew steadily louder. She emerged from a curtain of trailing silver moss into a breathtaking clearing. Before her lay a stream, but not like any she had ever seen. Its waters flowed a liquid light, reflecting the faint glow of the luminar blossom in her mind, turning the stream into a river of flowing starlight. Tiny glowing fish no bigger than her thumb darted through its depths, leaving trails of iridescent light in their wake. Smooth, water-worn stones lined its banks, each one glowing with a soft inner light, as if they had absorbed the stream's magic over countless centuries. Perched on one of these luminous stones at the very edge of the shimmering stream was a creature Elara almost mistook for a particularly large, glowing butterfly. It was about the size of her hand, with wings of sheer crystalline light that beat with a slow, graceful rhythm, scattering tiny motes of golden dust into the air. Its body was slender, almost translucent, and its head held two large, intelligent eyes that glowed with a soft, emerald light. This was no ordinary insect. This was a glimmerwing, a spirit of light and reflection, rarely seen outside the deepest reaches of the whisperwood. As Elara approached, the glimmerwing turned its head, its emerald eyes fixing on her. It did not fly away, but instead tilted its head as if listening. The whispering around Elara seemed to coalesce, focusing on the creature, and a new layer of understanding blossomed in her mind. This was a messenger, a guardian. "Hello," Elara whispered, her voice barely audible over the gentle murmur of the starlight stream. The glimmerwing's wings beat a little faster, and a cascade of golden dust drifted towards her. Then, in a voice that was not spoken aloud but resonated directly within her thoughts, a voice like the gentle chime of tiny bells, it responded, "Child of the waking world, you carry the light. You hear the song. Why do you seek the heart of the forest?" Elara felt a strange calm. It wasn't startling to hear a voice in her mind. It felt like a natural extension of the whispering. I don't fully know," she admitted truthfully. "I saw a vision, an ancient structure, and the lumina blossom it called to me. The whispering guides me." She gestured vaguely towards her head, indicating the internal glow. The glimmering seemed to nod, its crystalline wings shimmering. "The blossom's light is a truth-teller. The whispering is the forest's memory. They have chosen you, Elara." The mention of her name, unspoken yet perfectly clear, sent a shiver of significance through her. Many have sought the ancient heart, but few have been permitted to walk its true path. The way is not merely found, it is understood. What is it you hope to find there? Elara paused, considering. What did she hope to find? Answers, I think, she said, looking into the glimmerwing's glowing eyes. About the whispering, about the blossom, about why I saw the vision, and I feel like there's something important that needs to be done. A balance, perhaps, or a healing. The Glimmerwing pulsed with a brighter light, its golden dust motes dancing more vigorously. A good answer, child. Not for power, not for glory, but for understanding and purpose. The ancient structure holds the echoes of creation, a library of the forest's oldest dreams. But to approach it, you must first learn to listen with more than your ears. It then flew a little way up the stream, hovering over a cluster of particularly bright, glowing stones. These are the heartstones of the Lumina stream. They hum with the collective memory of the Whisperwood. To truly hear the whispering, you must attune your own heart to theirs. Place your hands upon them. Let the stream's song flow through you. Elara approached the heartstones cautiously. They were warm to the touch, and a faint vibration emanated from them. She knelt, placing her palms flat against two of the larger stones. A gentle warmth spread through her hands, up her arms, and into her chest. It was a sensation akin to the Lumina Blossom's glow in her mind, but deeper, more encompassing. The murmuring of the stream seemed to weave itself into her own heartbeat. As she focused, the whispering changed again. It was no longer just a guiding feeling. It was a tapestry of faint, overlapping sounds. She heard the creak of ancient boughs in a forgotten storm, the rustle of leaves from 1,000 years ago, the soft landing of a feather, the distant cry of a creature now extinct. It was the forest's entire history, playing out in miniature, a symphony of time. She felt a profound connection, as if she were a part of the forest, and the forest, a part of her. The Lumina blossom in her mind intensified its glow, and for a moment, Elara felt as though she could see through the very roots of the trees, into the earth itself, sensing the network of life beneath her feet. She saw the slow, patient growth of the forest, the dance of light and shadow, the quiet wisdom of nature. The Glimmerwing hovered close, its voice chiming in her mind again. You are learning, Elara. The Whisperwood does not speak in words but in resonance. It shares its truth through feeling, through memory, through the very breath of life. When she finally withdrew her hands, a faint, lingering warmth remained. She felt clearer, more connected, as if a veil had been lifted. The whispering was no longer just a sound. It was a constant, gentle dialogue, a quiet assurance of the forest's presence. Thank you, Elara said to the Glimmerwing, a genuine smile gracing her lips. The Glimmerwing dipped its head. The path ahead will test your understanding. Follow the song of the Heartstones. They will lead you to the sunken grove of echoes, where ancient visions linger with a final flutter of its iridescent wings. The Glimmerwing ascended, circling once before darting away into the shimmering depths of the forest, its golden trail fading quickly into the dappled light. Elara stood, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The Heartstones now pulsed with a more direct resonance, a soft rhythmic beat that seemed to pull her further upstream. She followed, the luminous stream now a brighter, more defined guide. The trees here were even grander, their branches draped with bioluminescent vines that pulsed with soft blue light, illuminating her way. The terrain grew more uneven, and she found herself climbing over moss-covered boulders that sparkled with embedded crystals. The air grew thick, with the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and metallic, like old rain on forgotten stone. The whispering in her mind grew more complex, mingling with a faint, melancholic hum. Finally, the stream widened, pooling into a still, dark basin, reflecting the luminous canopy above like a shattered mirror. And beyond it, partially hidden by a curtain of cascading, glowing moss, Elara saw an opening. It was not a natural cave, but a deliberate archway, carved from dark, polished stone, overgrown with centuries of forest life. The stone itself seemed to absorb the light, making the entrance appear as a deeper shadow against the shimmering forest. Stepping through the curtain of moss, Elara entered the sunken grove of echoes. It was a vast circular chamber, open to the sky, though the canopy above was so dense that only slivers of moonlight penetrated, creating dramatic shafts of light and shadow. The walls of the grove were not natural rock, but ancient, cyclopean stones, arranged in a perfect circle, covered in intricate carvings that depicted swirling patterns, celestial maps, and stylized figures that seemed to embody the very essence of the Whisperwood: trees with human-like features, animals with glowing eyes, and beings of pure light. In the center of the grove, a shallow pool of water lay perfectly still, its surface like polished obsidian. Yet, as Ilara watched, faint ripples would occasionally disturb its calm, emanating from a small pedestal-like stone at its very heart. This pedestal was unadorned, smooth and dark, but it pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible warmth. The melancholic hum that had guided her here was strongest in this place, a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to emanate from the very stones themselves. The lumina blossom in her mind began to throb with an insistent rhythm, mirroring the hum of the grove. It wasn't just light now, it was a gentle pressure, a yearning. Ilara felt drawn to the central pedestal. She walked towards it, her footsteps echoing softly in the profound silence of the grove. As she reached the edge of the pool, she hesitated. The water was unnervingly dark, yet it held a strange allure. The whispering, which had been a symphony of forest sounds, now focused on the pool, on the pedestal. It was telling her to look, to touch. Taking another deep breath, Ilara extended her hand and gently touched the surface of the dark pool. The water was cool, almost cold, yet it sparked with a faint internal light where her fingers broke the surface. As her touch lingered, the surface of the pool began to ripple more actively. The dark water swirled, and then, as if it were a window into the past, images began to form within its depths. First, she saw towering trees, even grander than those outside, their canopies reaching towards a sky filled with multiple moons. Then figures emerged, tall, slender beings, their skin like polished wood, their eyes like glowing embers. They moved with a slow, deliberate grace, tending to the forest, their hands glowing with a soft green light. These were the Ancient Ones, the first guardians of the Whisperwood, beings intrinsically linked to the forest itself. The images shifted. She saw them cultivating fields of luminescent flowers, flowers that looked remarkably like the lumina blossom in her mind. They harvested their light, weaving it into intricate patterns, using it to illuminate their homes, to heal the sick, to communicate across vast distances. The whispering now blended with faint, ethereal voices, not words, but intonations of peace, reverence, and deep connection. Then the vision changed again. A shadow fell over the grove. The Ancient Ones looked up, their faces etched with concern. A faint, flickering darkness, like an oily smoke, began to seep into the edges of the forest, dimming the light, causing the lumina blossoms to wilt. The Ancient Ones moved with urgency, gathering the remaining blossoms, their faces grim. Ilara saw them working, their hands glowing, focusing their collective energy on a single massive structure, the very one she had seen in her vision. It was a beacon, a vault, a sanctuary. They were building something to protect the light, to preserve the essence of the lumina blossom from the encroaching darkness. She saw them place the last, most precious lumina blossom, still pulsing with vibrant life, into the heart of the structure, sealing it away. A wave of profound sadness and sacrifice washed over her from the vision, a sense of having given up something precious for the greater good. The images flickered, then faded, leaving the pool dark and still once more. Ilara withdrew her hand, her heart thumping. The lumina blossom in her mind pulsed with a renewed intensity, a deep, yearning ache that resonated with the sacrifice she had witnessed. She understood now. The ancient structure was not merely a vault, it was a sanctuary, a last bastion of pure light, placed there to safeguard the very essence of the Whisperwood, and perhaps, the world. The melancholic hum of the grove slowly faded, replaced by a new, more determined thrum from the whispering. It was no longer guiding her generally, it was pointing, directly, and with clear purpose, towards the far side of the grove, where a narrow passage opened into the darkness. This passage, Ilara knew, led to the ancient structure. The glimmering had spoken of understanding, and the sunken grove had provided it. She now carried not just the light of the lumina blossom, but the weight of ancient history, and a newly awakened sense of responsibility. With a deep breath, Ilara turned towards the passage. The lumina blossom in her mind flared, projecting a soft, comforting light ahead of her, illuminating the rough-hewn stone of the tunnel. She could feel the ancient structure drawing closer, its presence a powerful hum beneath the earth. The whispering was now a chorus of anticipation, a silent cheer of encouragement. She stepped into the passage, leaving the sunken grove behind, the darkness ahead promising not fear, but revelation. The air grew colder, drier, carrying a faint, mineral scent. After walking for some time, The passage opened into a vast cavernous space. Before her, rising from the subterranean depths, was the ancient structure from her vision. It was magnificent, far larger and more intricate than she had imagined. Constructed from the same dark polished stone as the sunken grove, it spiraled upwards, its many tiers adorned with carvings that seemed to tell stories of the stars and the earth, of life and light. It wasn't a fortress, nor a temple, but something in between, a monument to foresight and preservation. At its base, directly before her, was an enormous archway, flanked by 2 towering pillars carved with the likeness of ancient watchful trees. The archway itself was sealed by a massive stone door, seamless and unadorned, save for a single circular indentation in its center, which seemed to glow with a faint internal light, mirroring the luminescence of the lumina blossom in her mind. The whispering reached a crescendo, a powerful resonant hum that vibrated through the very air. It was telling her, this was it. This was the threshold. The lumina blossom in her mind throbbed, its light now radiating outward, a warm golden aura that enveloped her. It yearned for the indentation, for the connection. Elara felt a powerful surge of energy, a feeling of destiny. She knew with unwavering certainty that the indentation was meant for her, for the light she carried. This was the moment. She took a step forward, her hand reaching out towards the glowing circle on the ancient door, ready to offer the light, ready to awaken the sanctuary. The true heart of the mystery lay just beyond. She took a step forward, her hand reaching out towards the glowing circle on the ancient door, ready to offer the light, ready to awaken the sanctuary. The true heart of the mystery lay just beyond. As Elara's fingertips, imbued with the soft golden radiance of the heartwood light, brushed against the luminous indentation, the ancient door did not simply open. Instead, it responded with a profound, almost sentient awakening. A ripple of golden energy, mirroring the light in her hand, pulsed outward from the contact point, tracing intricate patterns across the stone. The glowing circle deepened its hue, swirling like a miniature galaxy, and then, with a sound like 1,000 whispers harmonizing, it began to all breathe. The stone of the door, once solid and unyielding, softened, shimmering as if made of liquid light. Cracks of golden luminescence spiderwebbed across its surface, not breaking it, but illuminating the hidden pathways of its structure. A deep, resonant hum vibrated through the very ground beneath Elara's feet, climbing up her legs, filling her chest. It was a sound that felt older than time, a song of creation and slumbering power. The air around her grew thick with magic, fragrant with the scent of ancient earth, blooming night jasmine, and something else, something metallic and ethereal, like starlight caught in frost. The golden aura around Elara intensified, drawing her closer, pulling her into an embrace of pure energy. Her breath caught in her throat, a gasp of utter wonder. This was not just a door. It was a living membrane, a gateway between worlds, or perhaps between states of being. Slowly, almost languidly, the central portion of the door began to recede inward, not swinging open on hinges, but dissolving into golden motes of light that spiraled gracefully before vanishing. In its place, a perfect archway of pure, shimmering light appeared, revealing not darkness, but an expanse of soft, ethereal glow within. Elara felt an irresistible pull, a sense of belonging that resonated deep within her soul. The heartwood light in her hand throbbed in harmony with the energy pouring from the threshold. This was where she was meant to be. This was the sanctuary. With a deep breath, she stepped through the archway. The moment she crossed the threshold, the world outside, the winding path, the moonlit forest, seemed to vanish, replaced by an overwhelming sense of peace. The shimmering archway solidified behind her, reforming the ancient door, as if it had never opened, leaving her enveloped in the sanctuary's embrace. She found herself in a vast, circular chamber, its walls not of stone, but of a pearlescent material that seemed to drink and diffuse the light, making it glow from within. The ceiling soared far above, a dome of swirling, iridescent patterns that mimicked the night sky, yet was filled with stars that pulsed with gentle colors Elara had never seen. These were not distant suns, but living constellations, shifting and breathing with an inner light. In the center of the chamber, a serene pool of water lay still, reflecting the celestial dome above like a perfect mirror. The water itself was clear as crystal, yet shimmered with an inner luminescence, revealing intricate, luminous glyphs etched into its basin. A soft melodic hum emanated from the pool, a sound that seemed to soothe every tired muscle, every worried thought. Elara walked towards the pool, her footsteps silent on the smooth, cool floor. Her gaze swept across the walls where murals of incredible detail depicted scenes of an ancient world. Graceful, ethereal beings, tall and slender with eyes like captured starlight, moved through landscapes of floating islands and crystalline forests. They communed with towering trees that pulsed with light, rode upon creatures of pure energy, and crafted structures that seemed woven from moonlight and dreams. These were the Ethel, the ancient keepers of this world's deepest magic, a civilization long thought to be myth. They were depicted tending to glowing conduits of energy, shaping raw magic with gestures of effortless grace, and sharing their wisdom with creatures of forest and sky. One mural, particularly captivating, showed a group of Ethel gathered around a colossal tree, its branches reaching towards the heavens, its roots plunging into the earth, and at its heart, a core of pure golden light, a light strikingly similar to the one Elara now carried. It a heartwood lightwing, she realized, understanding dawning within her. It was not just a hurl light. It was a fragment of something far grander, a vital spark from the very source of this world's magic. As Elara gazed at the mural, a soft ethereal melody began to play, seemingly from the very air around her. It was a tune of profound nostalgia and quiet hope, a song that felt like a memory being gently unfurled. The glyphs in the pool of water intensified their glow, and from its surface mist began to rise, swirling and coalescing into delicate translucent forms. They were not solid beings but shimmering echoes, apparitions woven from light and water vapor. 3 figures, vaguely humanoid but fluid and indistinct, emerged from the mist. Their forms rippled like heat haze. Their eyes, if they had any, were pools of deep, knowing light. They moved with a graceful slowness, approaching Elara without sound, without threat, only an overwhelming aura of ancient wisdom and gentle curiosity. Elara felt no fear, only a profound sense of reverence. These were the sanctuary's guardians, or perhaps its living memories. "Welcome, bearer of the heartwood light," one of the echoes resonated, its voice not spoken aloud, but perceived directly in Elara's mind, a chorus of soft, harmonious tones. "Long has this chamber awaited your touch. Long has the weave whispered of your coming." The weave. Elara remembered the term from ancient texts she had found in her grandmother's hidden library, the intricate network of magical currents that flowed beneath the world, connecting all living things, all places of power. I am Elara," she managed, her voice a soft whisper in the vast chamber. "What is this place? What is my purpose here?" Another echo drifted closer, its form swirling with starlight. "This is the sanctuary of Ethel, a heart chamber of the weave, a repository of ancient knowledge and dormant power. It was built by the firstborn, those you know as the Ethel, to safeguard the essence of this world, when the Great Sundering threatened to tear it asunder." The Great Sundering. That was a tale of cosmic cataclysm, of a time when the veil between realms thinned, and shadows threatened to consume the light. It was thought to be only a myth, a cautionary fable. "The heartwood light you carry," the third echo added, its voice like the rustle of ancient leaves, "is a seed of the primordial magic, a fragment of the Ethel heartwood, the very core of our world's life force. It was entrusted to a lineage, a chosen line, to be nurtured, protected, and eventually to awaken what has slumbered." Elara looked at her hand, where the golden light pulsed steadily. So this wasn't just a heroic magic, it was an inheritance, a sacred trust passed down through generations. Her grandmother must have known. All those cryptic lessons, the strange glowing runes she'd been taught to trace, the stories of ancient trees and whispering stones, they were all preparing her for this moment. "What has slumbered? My?" Elara asked, her gaze sweeping around the breathtaking chamber. "And why now?" The echoes swirled together, their forms momentarily merging into a single radiant column of light, before separating again. The Great Sundering did not wholly pass, it merely receded, leaving scars and fragments of shadow. Now, after countless ages, the shadows stir again, seeking to unravel the weave, to extinguish the heartwood. The time of awakening is upon us, for the balance of light and shadow grows precarious. This sanctuary, the first echo explained, was designed to be a beacon, a conduit for the Heartwood's power, but it requires a living spark, a conscious will, to fully activate its deepest functions. You, Ilara, are that spark. Your lineage has carried the potential, and now you carry the activated light. To awaken the sanctuary means to awaken its chambers, to restore its connection to the weave, and to prepare for the challenges ahead, the third echo continued. The first step is to attune yourself to the Heartwood's rhythm, to understand its language. Come, Ilara, to the heart of the atrium. The echoes gestured towards a central pedestal that rose from the very edge of the shimmering pool. It was carved from the same pearlescent material as the walls, intricately sculpted with swirling patterns that seemed to mimic the growth of roots and branches. Atop the pedestal, a depression, perfectly sized for Ilara's glowing hand, pulsed with a faint, inviting light. Ilara approached the pedestal, her heart beating with a mixture of excitement and solemn responsibility. She placed her radiant hand into the depression. The moment her hand settled, the Heartwood light surged, flowing not just inside the pedestal, but way through it, radiating down into the water, across the floor, and up the walls. The entire chamber hummed with renewed energy. The luminous glyphs in the pool flared, casting dancing reflections on the ceiling. The celestial dome above brightened, its swirling constellations moving with more purpose, more life. A sensation, unlike anything Ilara had ever known, washed over her. It was as if she had plunged her hand not into stone, but into the very pulse of the world. She felt the ancient roots of mountains, the rushing currents of subterranean rivers, the slow, patient growth of forests, the quiet hum of forgotten ley lines. She felt the vast, intricate network of the weave, flowing beneath continents, connecting every living thing. And at its very core, she felt a powerful, benevolent presence, the Heartwood itself, ancient, wise, and weary, but now stirring with a glimmer of hope. Memories, not her own, began to flood her mind. Fleeting images of the Ethel building, this sanctuary, their faces serene with purpose. Visions of shimmering energy being woven into the very fabric of reality. Echoes of a profound sadness as they sealed the sanctuary, entrusting their legacy to the future. The echoes of the Ethel shimmered around her, their forms more distinct now, their light more focused. You feel it, don't you, Ilara? The song of the Heartwood, the whispers of the weave. You are now attuned. The sanctuary recognizes you as its rightful steward. As the sensation subsided, Ilara withdrew her hand, feeling invigorated, yet also deeply humbled. The Heartwood light in her palm now seemed to glow with an even deeper, more confident radiance. What now? She asked, looking at the echoes. Now the sanctuary offers its knowledge, the first echo replied. The atrium is but the first chamber. Beyond lie the chronicles of Athel, the records of our wisdom, our history, and the prophecies that guide the path ahead. It is there you will find answers, and begin to understand the true scope of your task. A section of the pearlescent wall, previously indistinguishable from the rest, began to glow with a soft, inviting light. An archway, similar to the one through which Ilara had entered, slowly materialized, revealing a passageway leading deeper into the heart of the sanctuary. Unlike the radiant glow of the atrium, this passage was bathed in a softer, more scholarly light, hinting at hidden alcoves and ancient scrolls. The sanctuary guides your steps, the second echo stated. But the choices are yours to make. Each chamber you awaken, each secret you uncover, will bring you closer to understanding the Heartwood's plight and your role in its salvation. Ilara looked at the newly revealed passageway, then back at the ethereal echoes. A sense of purpose, clear and unwavering, settled within her. This was more than just a discovery, it was a calling. She was not just Ilara, the girl who loved old stories. She was Ilara, bearer of the Heartwood light, steward of the sanctuary of Athel, and perhaps a pivotal figure in the fate of her world. Thank you, she said, her voice filled with newfound resolve. I will go. With a final gentle hum, the echoes began to recede, dissolving back into the shimmering mist of the central pool, their light fading until only the soft glow of the water remained. Ilara was alone again, but no longer felt solitary. The presence of the Heartwood, the ancient wisdom of the Ethel, seemed to surround her, a comforting, guiding force. She took a deep breath, the scent of ancient magic filling her lungs, and walked towards the newly opened passageway. The light she carried pulsed steadily, illuminating her path, a warm beacon against the soft mystery of the sanctuary. She stepped into the passage, eager to unravel the chronicles of Ethel, ready to face whatever awaited her within the heart of this ancient magical place. The passage was narrow at first, curving gently. Its walls were not smooth like the atrium, but etched with countless symbols and flowing scripts, glowing faintly with an inner light. As Elara moved deeper, the passage widened into a grand hall, its ceiling lower than the atrium's, but still impressive, supported by slender, luminous columns that seemed to grow organically from the floor. This chamber was filled with knowledge. Along the walls, shelves carved from dark, polished wood, almost black, held rows upon rows of scrolls, books bound in shimmering, iridescent leather, and crystalline tablets that pulsed with faint internal lights. There were no chairs, no tables, only open spaces where the light from the columns diffused gently, inviting contemplation. This was the Hall of Whispering Lore, the Chronicles of Ethel. As Elara walked among the shelves, a soft, almost inaudible murmur filled the air, like 1,000 voices speaking in unison, yet none distinct enough to understand. It was the sound of knowledge, ancient and vast, gently stirring. She reached out to touch a scroll bound with silver thread. As her fingers brushed its surface, a faint image flickered in her mind. A star map, intricate and breathtaking, showing constellations she'd never seen, shifting in complex celestial dances. It was gone as quickly as it came, leaving behind a lingering sense of awe. It is not merely a library of static knowledge, Elara. A new voice, clear and resonant, spoke directly into her mind. It was distinct from the chorused whispers of the atrium echoes, singular and warm, like sunlight filtering through ancient leaves. Elara turned, searching for the source. Standing between two towering shelves, a being of pure light shimmered into focus. It was taller than any human, slender and graceful, its form composed of shifting golden and silver light, with eyes like deep pools of twilight. It had no discernible features beyond its luminous form, yet Elara felt an intense presence, an ancient, benevolent intelligence. "I am Lyra, a luminous weaver, a guardian of this chamber," the being communicated, its voice echoing in her thoughts. "I am a fragment of the Ethel's collective wisdom, bound to the heartwood and tasked with guiding those who awaken the sanctuary. Lyra, a luminous weaver." Elara remembered the term from the murals, beings of light who helped the Ethel tend to the weave. "Hello, Lyra," Elara replied, a small smile touching her lips. "It's an honor to meet you." Lyra's luminous form pulsed gently, a gesture that Elara instinctively understood as a smile. "The honor is ours, bearer of the light. You have brought life back to these halls. For too long, only the echoes of memory stirred here." "The whispers," Elara clarified, gesturing around the vast chamber. "Is that what they are? Memories?" "Indeed," Lyra confirmed. "Every scroll, every tablet, every artifact in this chamber holds a fragment of the Ethel's experience, their discoveries, their sorrows, and their hopes. When the heartwood light flows through the sanctuary, these memories are gently awakened, allowing them to communicate, to share their wisdom with a receptive mind." "How do I access them?" Elara asked, her gaze sweeping over the countless repositories of knowledge. It was overwhelming. "Not with mere reading, Elara, but with connection," Lyra explained. "The heartwood light in your possession allows you to resonate with the ancient energies. Focus your intent, open your mind, and let the light guide you to what you need to know." Elara nodded, taking a deep breath. She extended her hand, the golden glow pulsing softly. She closed her eyes, letting her senses expand, reaching out, not with her fingers, but with the subtle magic of the heartwood light. She felt the gentle thrum of the chamber, the myriad whispers, like a vast, silent chorus. She focused on her purpose, to understand the sanctuary, the heartwood, and her role in the coming challenges. She felt a gentle pull, a subtle resonance emanating from a particular section of the shelves. Opening her eyes, Elara walked towards it. Her hand hovered over a collection of crystalline tablets, each one shimmering with a unique, faint color. One, in particular, pulsed with a soft emerald green light. It felt ancient, powerful, and deeply significant. She reached out and gently took the tablet. It was cool and smooth beneath her fingers, surprisingly light. As she held it, the emerald glow intensified, and the heartwood light in her hand began to pulse in unison. Images and sensations flooded her mind, clearer and more coherent than the fleeting star map. She saw the Ethel, not as ethereal beings, but as flesh and blood people, though still imbued with immense grace and light. She saw them tending to the heartwood, a colossal, glowing tree that was not just a plant, but a nexus of pure magic, its roots anchoring the very fabric of reality. She saw them crafting the sanctuary, not just as a refuge, but as a seed vault for magic, a place where the essence of their world could be preserved through times of darkness. She understood their fear during the Great Sundering, a cataclysm that fractured the world's magical harmony. The Ethel realized they could not stop it entirely, but they could protect the heartwood, severing its direct connection to the surface world and embedding its core essence within this sanctuary, to lie dormant until a time of dire need and a suitable bearer of its light would awaken it. The tablet then shifted, showing visions of the future. Not clear, distinct events, but swirling possibilities, shadowed threats and moments of desperate hope. She saw glimpses of a creeping blight, a shadow that stretched across the land, draining color and life. It was a force of decay, an anti-magic that sought to unravel the weave itself. And she saw herself, Ilara, standing against it, not alone, but surrounded by new allies, wielding the heartwood light with power she could barely comprehend. A jolt ran through her as the vision faded, leaving her breathless. The tablet still glowed in her hand, but the intensity had lessened. She understood now. Her task was not just to awaken the sanctuary, but to fully reconnect the heartwood to the world, to mend the weave, and to fight against the encroaching shadow. It was a monumental task, one that seemed impossible for a single girl. The burden is great, Ilara. Lyra's voice resonated gently in her mind. But you are not truly alone. The heartwood itself guides you, and the wisdom of the Ethel supports you. This sanctuary is not merely a place of preservation, but a training ground, a source of power to prepare you for what lies ahead. What lies ahead? How can I do this? Ilara whispered, the weight of the revelation settling heavily on her shoulders. I'm just me. You are more than just you, Ilara, Lyra affirmed, its luminous form radiating warmth. You are the culmination of a sacred lineage, chosen by the heartwood itself. Your connection to the weave is profound. The light you carry is not merely a spark. It is a key, a conduit, and a source of immeasurable power. But, like any seed, it must be nurtured, grown, and understood. Lyra drifted closer, hovering gently near Ilara. The Hall of Whispering Lore offers countless pathways to understanding. You will learn of the weave's intricate patterns, of the ancient creatures and spirits tied to its flow, and of the nature of the shadow that now stirs. You will learn to draw upon the heartwood light, not just to glow, but to shape, to heal, and to protect. But this is just one chamber, Ilara mused, looking around the vast hall. There must be more to the sanctuary. Indeed, Lyra confirmed. Beyond these chronicles lie the chambers of resonance, where you will learn to attune your senses to the weave, to hear its whispers across distances, and to communicate with the natural world. Further still are the halls of harmonious flow, where you will practice channeling the heartwood light, learning to mend and strengthen the weave itself, and deeper yet, the core chamber, where the heartwood itself awaits its full awakening. The path was long, intricate, and filled with challenges. But looking at Lyra, a beacon of calm and ancient wisdom, Ilara felt a renewed surge of determination. She had been chosen for a reason. She held the heartwood light, and she would not falter. Where should I begin? Ilara asked, clutching the emerald tablet, feeling its lingering warmth against her palm. Lyra's light pulsed. Begin with what speaks to your heart, Ilara. The weave will guide you. Perhaps for now, understanding the nature of the shadow is paramount. Search for the scrolls of the veiled blight, or the whispers of the unraveler. Knowledge is your first shield, and your greatest weapon. Ilara nodded, her gaze sweeping across the shelves once more, no longer overwhelmed, but filled with a focused curiosity. The whispers of the lore around her seemed to coalesce, drawing her towards a section marked with faint, shadowy runes. She took a step forward, the emerald tablet still warm in her hand, ready to delve into the ancient secrets of the Ethel, ready to prepare for the looming darkness. The sanctuary had opened its heart to her, and now she would embrace its profound legacy. The shadowy runes pulsed faintly, almost imperceptibly, as Elara approached. They weren't etched into the shelves, but seemed to float just above them, shimmering like frozen starlight against the dark wood. As she drew closer, the emerald tablet in her hand began to vibrate, a low hum resonating through her palm. The whispers of the lore intensified, no longer just a murmur, but distinct, ancient voices speaking in a chorus she couldn't quite decipher, yet understood on a deeper intuitive level. One of the runes, larger and more intricate than the others, flared with a soft silver light. It depicted a swirling vortex, a maelstrom of shadow threatening to consume a tiny, resilient spark. As the tablet pulsed in rhythm with the glowing rune, the air around Elara shimmered, and the shelves themselves seemed to dissolve. She found herself standing not in the library, but in an ethereal void, surrounded by a tapestry of interwoven light and shadow, memory and oblivion. This was the umbral weave, the encroaching darkness the Ethel guarded against. The voices coalesced into a single resonant whisper that echoed through her very being. The umbral weave. It feeds on forgotten truths, on unspun stories, on the dimming of the world's light. It seeks to unravel the threads of existence, starting with the very memories that define us. The Ethel stands as a bulwark, a keeper of the world's true narrative. You, Elara, are the chosen thread. The emerald tablet flared, projecting a cascade of luminous symbols and images before her. These weren't just words, they were experiences, spells, and forgotten crafts of light and memory. She saw ancient guardians weaving shields of starlight, scholars binding shadows with threads of song, and storytellers igniting hope with tales of old. The knowledge flowed into her, not through her eyes but directly into her mind, a torrent of understanding that reshaped her perception of reality. She learned how to discern the false whispers of the umbral weave from the true hum of existence, how to mend fractured memories, and how to ignite the dormant light within herself. Days and nights blurred into a timeless continuum within the heart of the Ethel. The library, once a static collection, became a living mentor. Pages rustled open to reveal forgotten incantations. Constellations shifted in the domed ceiling to illustrate celestial alignments for magical workings, and the very air hummed with latent power that Elara learned to draw upon. The emerald tablet was her guide, a focal point for the Ethel's immense energy, allowing her to channel its wisdom and strength. She practiced weaving intricate patterns of pure light, shaping them into protective wards, illuminating obscured truths, and even mending minor tears in the fabric of the library itself, small incursions of the encroaching darkness. Her skin began to glow faintly with an inner luminescence, her eyes reflecting the endless depths of the starry dome. She felt attuned to every whisper of the Ethel, every creak of its ancient wood, every vibration of the magical currents that flowed through its foundations. The isolation was profound, yet she was never truly alone, surrounded by the echoes of countless generations of keepers, their wisdom now her own. One cycle as the celestial alignments reached a critical point, a chilling silence fell over the Ethel. The gentle hum of the lore ceased. The distant, comforting whispers died. Elara felt a cold dread seep into her bones. The umbral weave was no longer just a distant threat, it was pressing against the very gates of the sanctuary. A section of the library, the oldest and most sacred, where the Ethel's foundational memories were stored, began to dim. Books turned to ash, their stories fading into nothingness. Runes flickered and died on the walls. Elara knew her time for preparation was over. She clutched the emerald tablet, its warmth a stark contrast to the encroaching chill. "Not today," she whispered, her voice resonating with newfound authority. She strode towards the heart of the fading section, where a swirling vortex of shadow was beginning to tear at the very essence of the Ethel. This was the nexus, the point where the umbral weave sought to unravel the world's most vital memories. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of forgotten dust and decay. Whispers, distorted and malicious, assailed her mind, trying to sow doubt, to remind her of her youth, her inexperience. But Elara focused on the emerald tablet, on the surge of pure light that pulsed within it. She remembered the countless lessons, the visions of the ancient weavers, the chorus of voices that had guided her. She lifted the tablet and a beam of brilliant emerald light shot forth, piercing the heart of the shadowy vortex. The umbral weave hissed, recoiling, but then surged forward with renewed malevolence, trying to snuff out the light. Elara stood her ground, feet planted firmly on the floor that now felt like ancient bedrock. She closed her eyes, not in fear, but to truly see, to feel the flow of power. She envisioned the Ethel not as a building but as a living heart, beating with the collective memories of the world. She drew upon its immense strength, channeling it through the emerald tablet, letting it flow into her very being. Her hands moved, not in practiced motions, but with an instinctive grace, weaving the light into intricate, shimmering patterns. Threads of pure luminescence shot from her fingertips, intertwining, forming a luminous net that began to push back against the consuming shadow. The battle was not one of brute force, but of essence. The umbral weave sought to erase, to unmake. Elara sought to affirm, to remember, to create. Each thread of light she wove was a memory defended, a story preserved, a hope rekindled. The malicious whispers shrieked, growing weaker as her light grew stronger. She poured every ounce of her training, every spark of the Ethel's wisdom, every beat of her own courageous heart into the weave. Finally, with a surge of power that left her breathless and trembling, she completed her masterpiece. A shimmering dome of interwoven light, pulsating with the vibrant emerald hue of the tablet, encased the nexus. The shadowy vortex shrieked one last time, a sound of pure agony and defeat, before collapsing inward, shrinking, and then vanishing completely, sealed beneath Elara's luminous ward. Silence descended once more, but this time it was a peaceful, profound silence. The Ethel breathed a sigh of relief. The dimming section of the library began to glow anew, the faded books regaining their vibrant hues, the flickering runes steadying and shining with renewed brilliance. The gentle hum of the lore returned, softer, more appreciative than before. Elara sank to her knees, the emerald tablet falling from her grasp, but not shattering. It landed gently, its light dimming to a soft, warm glow. Exhaustion washed over her, a deep, bone-wearing fatigue, but it was accompanied by an overwhelming sense of peace and accomplishment. She had done it. She had held back the encroaching darkness. As she rested, recuperating, the library seemed to embrace her. The gentle whispers returned, not demanding, but comforting. Well done, Weaver of Light. The Ethel is safe. The world remembers. Elara opened her eyes. The dome of light she had woven pulsed softly, a perpetual guardian. Her inner glow had subsided, but a faint ethereal shimmer lingered around her, a testament to the power she had wielded. She was no longer just Elara, the curious girl from the village. She was Elara, the guardian of the Ethel, the Weaver of Light, the protector of the world's most precious memories. She picked up the emerald tablet. It felt different now, not just a tool, but a part of her, a living extension of the Ethel's heart. She knew her journey wasn't truly over. The umbral weave was contained, not destroyed, and vigilance would always be required. But for now, the immediate threat had passed. The Ethel stood strong, a beacon of light and knowledge in a world that often forgot its own stories. Elara smiled, a gentle, tired smile. The vast, silent halls of the Ethel stretched around her, no longer daunting, but welcoming, a sanctuary she had now truly made her home. She knew there would be other challenges, other moments when the darkness would try to resurface, but she was ready. She had found her purpose, interwoven with the very fabric of existence. With a final, contented sigh, Elara curled up amidst the restored books, the emerald tablet resting near her heart. The soft glow of the library's magic enveloped her, a warm, protective embrace. The whispers of 1,000 stories lulled her to sleep, a deep, dreamless slumber. The Ethel was safe, and so was she. And as the stars outside twinkled above the hidden sanctuary, the world breathed a collective sigh of relief, its memories protected by the quiet strength of its newest guardian. All was well.